Hana risks dating someone arrogant, rude, and offensive to protect her family's well-being. Even worse, she might fall in love with them. Up next is the summary of Takan and Hana. Hana is a promising student girl who doesn't believe that there are people in this world who have more pride than others. She believes everyone should be treated with respect and integrity, and her beliefs are countered when she is asked to replace her sister for a blind date with the grandson of a conglomerate, Saibara Takan. The date should have been for her elder sister, Yukari, but at that time, Yukari was in a relationship and she refused to go on a blind date. Their father is also interested in sealing a deal with the company, and he doesn't want the chairman to get angry with him, so he decides to take Hana there instead so Hana will pretend to be Yukari. They arrive and the grandfather comes to welcome them before Takan arrives. Immediately he sees her, he tells her that her weird makeup makes her look very ugly, and he doesn't like women that go out of their way because they want to impress a man, and it doesn't speak well of them. He calls her a gold digger, saying he isn't interested in a woman like her. She gets angry. It isn't like she is interested in the union too, she had just done it because of her father, so what right does he have to insult her? She stands up, puts her leg on the table and insults him in return before walking out. She returns to school the next day and after class, she and her friends are shocked to see an expensive car in front of their school. The car belongs to Takan and he comes out with roses for her. She asks him what they are for, and he says he has found out she lied to him. She refuses to apologize, telling him she doesn't want his roses and she doesn't want to talk to him. He blackmails her with the fact that he could get her father sacked, so she reluctantly follows him. He gets her dressed and takes her to a high-end restaurant. He tells her he is sure she has never worn such a nice dress before, and she doesn't need to think about him because he only bought it. After all, she can't wear her ugly clothes to that place. She accepts all his insulting words and leaves at night. When she gets home, she tells her father about the meeting and her father is glad that Takan isn't angry at them. The following day, Takan takes her to a steak restaurant again. She tells him that he should meet her sister instead, since they are about the same age and they have similar behaviors. He claims she has low self-esteem and she is the one he wants. The manager even talks about how she doesn't look classy, so she feels bad. As he drives her home, she tells him she doesn't want to see him again, but he pins her to the wall, telling her that she isn't the one to end their dates. However, he advises her that if she falls in love, she should end it. She asks what he wants to do after pinning her, so he feels awkward and lets her go. Before leaving, she gives him candy as a gift. She prepares for her next date with him the next day, but Yukari shockingly comes into the house announcing that she has ended her relationship, and she will be going for the date with Takan the next day instead of Hana. Since the arrangement was for her in the first place, Hana can't object. Hana goes to a restaurant with her friends instead, and her friends tell her they have browsed about Takan, and they see he has a good future, and he is Hana's first love. She denies ever liking him, saying he is a narcissist and doesn't want to have anything to do with him, plus he belongs to her sister. As she talks, she thinks about the times they spent together, and she starts crying. They console her. Suddenly, Takan comes in to pick her up. He tells her she was his date and not his sister, and he won't accept that. He takes her to a fishery and tells her how he had rejected Yukari to be with her. She tells him that he doesn't have to pity her by rejecting her sister, but he reveals that it isn't because of pity, and someone like him can't pity her. He says she intrigues him and he is interested in her, which was why he came to look for her the first day. She pins him to the wall, saying that they will continue that marriage date until he falls in love, so she plants a kiss in his mouth. She goes home that day and she is too shocked to sleep. She wonders why she had done something like that, as it wasn't even her intention. On the other hand, Takan can't sleep too. When he wakes, he gets a call from his grandfather that they will be having a family dinner that night, and he must come. When Hana wakes up, she finds a box of clothes and shoes with her parents, and they tell her that Takan has sent it. She wonders what it is all for, but she finds a card in the box, and the card invites her for dinner that evening, telling her to wear the clothes. She reluctantly does as he has said, and she goes outside to meet him when he arrives to pick her up in the evening. She asks him why he had come again even after what she had done the night before, but he says he isn't someone to be deceived by things like that. When she arrives at the party, it looks so beautiful. It's more beautiful than she had ever seen, and he takes her downstairs, saying that he is sure she has never had the opportunity to come to a place that is that pretty in her life, and she should take the opportunity well. She reminds him that she isn't meant to be there and it should be her sister, but he tells her that Grandpa sees her as her sister, and he is at her mercy because if Grandpa finds out that he doesn't have any relationship, he will link him on another arranged date, and he doesn't want to do arranged dates again. She decides that she will help him for that day, but only for that day. They meet Grandpa later, and he is excited that his boy has brought someone. He says the way Hana had behaved that day, he didn't think Hana would link up with Takan again, but Takan admits that was the first time someone had opposed him, so he liked her for it. Grandpa asks her what she thinks about the future, but she says she didn't think about it. They leave the room and separate. There she finds a man who came with his daughter. The man asks for Takan and she introduces herself as Takan's lover, but his daughter says she looks like a high school girl. She takes it as a compliment, and the man says the family won't think of getting married to a high school girl. To tempt her, the lady brings her a glass of wine so they can drink. She isn't legal yet, and she doesn't know what to do. Fortunately, Takan comes and drinks for her. He gets called to the family room for a meeting with his family. His uncles and aunts laugh at him for getting a poor girl like Hana and tell him that the kind of lady he marries will determine if he will still have his place as the heir of the family. He doesn't know that Hana is nearby and she is listening. He stands up against them, telling them that he would accept if they insult him, but they shouldn't insult Hana. Hana feels bad for him and leaves. Her legs hurt because of the shoes, so she removes them and leaves the party, but he runs after her. She ignores him and goes home. The following day at school, she ignores his calls again, but when she gets home, she is shocked to see him having dinner with her family. She tells him she is tired of his rich boy's play and that he should leave. When he refuses, she drags him out. He complains and she reveals that she is only pitying him and all she is doing is because of him, so he won't lose his place in the family he loves the most. He wonders if she is concerned about him, but she denies it again. He pins her to the wall, telling her that he knows it won't be easy, but he is promising her that he will defend her no matter what. She accepts his promise and closes her eyes for a kiss. He contemplates the idea of kissing her, but she asks if he is scared, so he goes for the kiss. However, he kissed the wall as she slipped away when he closed his eyes. He opens his eyes and she laughs at him, and goes inside the house. In another place, an Italian young man, Lilliciano Nicola, gets a picture of Takane and Hana, and he calls Hana his princess, and says he will get her. The following day, just as Nicola had said, he goes to find Hana at her school and he takes her to a restaurant to eat. At the restaurant, he eats freely with her, and she even admits that she is very free with him compared to how she had to be very careful with Takan to ensure she doesn't offend him, and he doesn't insult her. He also says he is a better person than Takan, and he is sure she will like him compared to Takan. On the other hand, Takan is at her house waiting for her. He gets angry at her parents that they allow him to stay out of the house late in the night. He suddenly sees a broadcast on the television that Nicola is in Japan. He knows Nicola to be someone who steals other people's ladies, and Nicola has even tried to flirt with a lady he knows. He immediately gets offended and goes to find Hana. He goes to the restaurant and sees Nicola, where he is closing his eyes and waiting for Hana to kiss him. He pushes Nicola away, warning him never to come nearer to Hana again. He drags Hana away, and outside the bar, he gets pissed at her that she had met with someone like that without his consent. She reminds him that he doesn't own her, and she has no relationship with him, so she doesn't have the duty to ask him before meeting anyone or even ask for his permission to meet anyone. Regardless, he begs her not to meet him. When she meets her friends the next day, she confides in them that Takan didn't tell her the reason he didn't want her with Nicola, and that makes her feel concerned. Suddenly, Nicola visits her at school. She tries to go with Takan's words and not meet him, but Nicola says he intends to take them to an Italian restaurant, but if she doesn't want to go, it means he won't take her friends too. As a result, her friends convince her to go. At the restaurant, she asks Nicola what had happened between him and Takan, and he reveals that he had asked a lady Takan was in love with on a date, and Takan caught him doing that. He says he feels bad about his acts, and he knows Takan doesn't want to be friends with him, but he likes Takan. Upon getting home, Hana meets Takan at her house. She tells him she wants to go to the hot spring and they should go together. At first, he assumes it is a date, but she tells him the hot spring belongs to Nicola's family, and she is going with her childhood friends, Okamoto, and some other friends. She tells him that if he doesn't want to go, she will go regardless, so he follows her choicelessly. On the date, he sees how close Hana is with Okamoto, and he feels a little bit thrown back with their friendship. During the vacation, Hana asks Nicola what he thinks about Takan, and he admits that when he first met Takan, he didn't like him. Akane was very popular among women, and every woman wanted to be with him. Instead of leading them on or playing with them as Nicola does, Takan will reject them. These girls will start crying and saying they will die, but he will encourage them that they will get over him, and won't die. This makes Nicola wonder what type of person he is, and why he thinks he can control every woman. He attacks Takan about it, but Takan tells him that he is better than Nicola, who doesn't care about how ladies feel and he just wants to have things with them. Because of that conversation, Nicola realizes that the women Takan rejects are always very comfortable with it. They move on quickly because he had rejected them without playing with their feelings. He realizes that his ways were the wrong ones and not Takan's way. As they talk, Takan comes and drags Hana away. Hana asks him why he doesn't like Nicola and if the woman Nicola had taken away from him was so pretty that he can't forget her. He reveals that he didn't even have a relationship with the girl. Nicola walks into their conversation and he is shocked at the discovery. He asks if he introduced the girl to Nicola as his girlfriend, and Nicola admits that he is right. He says that the lady always followed him around and he barely knew how to dispose of her. They ask him what is now making him that angry at Nicola, and he reveals that Nicola had returned to Italy without informing him and made him a fool when he was asking around for him in the school, and that was why he was angry. Nicola apologizes and they reconcile. As they return to the lodge, Okamoto asks Hana if what she thinks about Takan, and Hana says nothing. When Okamoto enters the lodge, Takan tells him that he shouldn't think because he is Hana's childhood friend, he will take Hana from him, and Okamoto replies that if he is threatened by a childhood friend, then he should know Hana isn't for him, and he should be worried. Is this a love triangle brewing? They go to play tennis and Takan refuses to play. However, Hana insists that he must play, and when they have the first set, he plays very badly and he loses. He tells them they aren't fit to play professionally with him, but Okamoto offers to play seriously with him. As they play, Okamoto gets injured. Takan carries him and takes him to get help, and the girls take their picture. Okamoto meets Hana later and he talks about how embarrassed he was. He admits he was the one wrong and immature, and Takan only played professionally with him because he asked for it, but Hana says Takan was also immature, and he should have done better. Okamoto recalls the reply Takan had given him the other time. Takan had told him that whatever he wants to do, he should do it, but he should remember that the trip is important to Hana and he shouldn't spoil her fun. This makes Okamoto feel bad. The following day, while Hana packs her loads, she gets a knock on the door, and the visitor is Nicrola. He tells her Takan is waiting for her by the door, and she takes a doll she had bought for Takan along as a gift. When she meets him, he tells her Nicrola had told him there is a shrine nearby and he wants to take her there. They walk to the shrine but find out Nicrola has deceived them. Hana brings out the gift he had bought for him, and he wonders why she had bought it. She says she knows the trip won't be special to him because he has gone on better luxurious trips, but she wants him to have the memory, which was why she bought it. She wonders if he doesn't want it, and she asks for it, so they struggle with it and fall on themselves. He reveals he saw her looking at it and bought it for her too, so he gives her the one he bought. They make a wish, and she wishes that he doesn't forget the date. He goes to the bridge where she takes a picture with him happily and laughs. Upon returning to school, she catches herself staring at the picture. When Takan returns to work, he finds out his uncle, the director, has employed an assistant for him. The assistant, Eiji, introduces himself and Takan is shocked but accepts regardless. He is to have a busy day so he can't meet Hana, and he sends her a doll telling her to look at it when she misses him, and she stares at the doll. However, during a break, Eiji asks him to go for lunch. He asks Eiji to follow him, but Eiji refuses, asking him if he is masking his disappointment about having an emergency assistant with being kind. Takan goes for his lunch with Hana, who is glad that he has come. He tells her about his new assistant, and she praises the assistant. As they finish eating, Eiji has stalked Takan and sees Takan with Hana. He realizes she is in high school and goes to tell the director. He asks the director if he wants Takan out of the way and reminds the man that Takan is a perfectionist, and it will take a lot of effort to get him out of the way. The director says that is why he is paying him, and he should work, so he says he has gotten something important. The following day, Eiji visits Hana at home, introducing himself as Takan's assistant, and telling her to break her relationship with Takan. He tells her that Takan is to inherit the company and he has a lot of enemies. These enemies will do anything to bring him down, and his relationship with her will only make him easy prey. He also reminds her that they have deceived grandfather, and if his grandfather finds out, not only Takan will be sent away from the company, even her father will be fired, so she should make the right decision and leaves. The conversation gets her so worried that when she meets with Takan the next day, she isn't free with him. He notices her behavior and asks her what is wrong, but she asks him about his assistant, and he says his assistant is fine. He suddenly gets a call from work and leaves her in the hands of Nicola. Nicrola notices what is wrong with her and asks her if she is fine. She tells him what she is going through and asks what if he is the one in her shoes, what will he do? He says he would do nothing. He tells her that such a decision is in Takan's hands to make, and no matter how immature he may seem, he is an adult and should be made to make these decisions. He tells her that concerning what she should do, she should find her confidence and make a decision. Takan asks Eiji what he can get for a lady that is sad, and Eiji suggests gifts, so he takes gifts to Hana's house that evening and barges into her room. He gets her several bottles of wellness drinks, saying the drinks aren't sold in the supermarket, and that if she drinks it, she will feel stronger. She takes a bottle and drinks, and she resolves that she doesn't want to end a friendship that makes her happy, so she tells him she has made her decision. She meets Eiji the following day, telling Eiji that she wasn't the one that started the relationship and they are each other's marriage prospects, so she won't end it. However, if Takan decides to end it, she will allow him to do that by himself. Eiji accepts her decision. As he walks away, he asks her if she knows why he has come to meet her, and the only reason he had come was because he felt she would be easy to convince. He returns to work and goes to report to the director. Meanwhile, Takan asks one of the staff about him and finds out he is at the director's office, so he goes to the director's office and overhears their conversation. He hears Eiji saying that since Takan met Hana, his work ethic has increased and she is a good investment, and Hana has also decided she won't leave. The director screams at Eiji, reminding him he is only a servant, and tells him that Hana is useless. Upon hearing that, Takan walks into the office. He says he needs his assistant back and reveals he knew the director had sent Eiji for personal reasons, but he is glad the director sent Eiji. He leaves with Eiji, who apologizes for what he had done and also reveals to him that he met Hana. Takan immediately runs to meet Hana. He scolds her for keeping such from him and hugs her because he knows she must have been concerned. He gets teary, telling her he feels bad that he burdened her that much, and they reconcile and play on their way home. The following day, He sees a nice dress and tries to buy it for Hana but finds out all his accounts have been frozen. He immediately runs to meet his grandfather asking him if he is the one that had done something like that to him. His grandfather tells him that is not just the only thing. His car has also been seized and he can't go to his house again too. He gives him the address of a place telling him to go there and find the next step. When he gets to the place, it is a one-bedroom apartment. He finds a sum of money in the cupboard, a sum of 10,000 yen. He calls his grandfather who tells him that will be his monthly allowance, and he is to work in their branch in that city as a low-level worker. Hana doesn't hear from him, and she calls him repeatedly to no avail. She calls Nicrola who tells her that he hasn't heard from him too but he will try to contact him. Takan begins working at the company and he bumps into Hana's dad. He recognizes him and he takes him to the rooftop and explains that just the president and the director know about his presence there, and he doesn't want Hana to know because he doesn't want her to see him in that state. The following day, Hana remains disturbed about him. She speaks to her friends who advise her that she should go to his office and at least find out if he is fine. She goes to his office in disguise and sees Eiji. She asks him about Takan and he explains what had happened to her. He says he had been expecting her visit. She wonders if that had happened because of him, but he says no and says he hadn't reported about her. He gives her the address of his house asking her to visit. When she asks why he is doing all that for her, he admits that he doesn't know the reason either. She goes to the house and she sees him walking. Immediately he sees her. He runs inside the house and locks the door. From outside the door, she tells him how concerned she has been about him and asks him to please talk to her. Instead of doing so, he opens the door and gives her money so she can take train and leaves. He asks her if she thinks a small girl like her can save him. He pushes her away and locks the door. Nicola also visits and sees the way he is living. He tells him that Hana has been so disturbed about him and says he should bury his pride and call Hana so that Hana can help him. He refuses, and Nicola tells him his grandfather has said he shouldn't give him money but he saw money in front of his house so he gives him back the money he had given Hana. Okamoto visits Hana and she tells him she is fine and she isn't bothered. At school the next day, he sees her being bothered about Takan. He drags her to a side telling her that if you want someone, you have to fight for them. He says she has to show Takan that she can save him and she can only do that by acting. She is shocked to hear that from him since he doesn't like Takan but he says he won't let his integrity leave because he doesn't like Takan. She takes his advice and goes to Takan's house before he returns from work. She brings him a warmer and also kitchen equipment. When he returns, he is shocked to see her and asks her to go but she hits him in his stomach telling him that she had told him when he first met her that she wasn't interested in his money and she will show him that she can save him. After she finishes making the meal, he tells her she must leave after finishing the food. She says she will leave when he eats so he eats the food. That was the best food he had gotten in the past few days because he had been managing his money to get food for himself. After she finishes with the meal, she goes. Upon getting home, her father admits that he knew Takan was there, and he didn't tell her because Takan didn't want it. They ask her if she wants to continue with the marriage and she says yes. For the next few days, she waits outside the house for Takan until he comes back from work, and she makes meals for him and also reads in his house. The director visits his grandfather saying if the grandfather had been strict with Takan from the beginning, Takan wouldn't have become that way. His grandfather says he has more intention and he doesn't plan to be lenient with him. Takan also meets Hana's dad to appreciate him for the kitchen items that Hana had brought for him. He goes to the bathhouse with Hana and on their way back a strange man takes their picture. Hana gets flustered and she doesn't want to reveal her feelings to him so she tries to shut the fact that she likes him. Upon getting back to work, he finds out that Eiji has transferred to his branch in the company. He takes Eiji to the rooftop asking if he is a spy but Eiji says no and says he wants Takan to use him as a means of getting back to the company. Takan confides in Eiji about Hana's great efforts towards him saying she is different. Upon returning home, he gives Hana a spare key to his house saying he doesn't want her to stay outside again or get kidnapped. Hana knows things like that are a sign of love but he insists it was nothing and he doesn't care about her. She speaks to Nicrola and her friends at Okamoto's restaurant about the fact that she has feelings for him, reminding them that the deal she had with him was that he would be the one to fall in love first, and she would lose if she fell in love so she doesn't know what to do. She intends that no matter what, he won't tell him of her feelings. After the others leave, she gets food for Okamoto to take to Takan, and she leaves. He runs to meet her outside telling her it isn't safe for her to keep going to meet a man, and remain in his house let alone marry someone older than her. She tells him Takan doesn't try to touch her, but he says it doesn't matter. He suddenly hugs her. She wonders what had happened but he says she gets easily flustered. She admits that he is right and leaves. He screams behind her that he likes her, and she is shocked by this reality. He tells her that he has liked her since the day he met her. She goes home confused about this confession, and she doesn't know what to do. Unknown to her, Takan was at the scene when the confession was made, and he had heard it. He goes to drink with Nicrola, who tells him that it was very romantic for Okamoto to declare his feelings, and if Takan doesn't declare his feelings too, he will lose the lady to Okamoto. Takan keeps insisting that he doesn't have feelings for her, and they are just going on their marriage proposal dates. The following day, when Hana visits Takan, he sees that she is bothered and asks her what is wrong. He tells her that she isn't allowed to keep secrets, so she decides to ask him what he will do if someone he cares for a lot declares her feelings for him. He advises her that it is best you have a sincere conversation with such a person, and she plans to do so. She meets Okamoto, who doesn't allow her to finish her talk before he knows she is going to reject him and that she has feelings for Takan. However, he wants to take his chances because he knows he will regret it if he doesn't do that. He goes to meet Takan and tells Takan that he should better confess his feelings to Hana if he wants her, because if he doesn't do so, he will take Hana from him. Suddenly, Takan receives a call from the office. He gets there and sees that the director has found pictures of himself and Hana and has promised that it will spoil the company's reputation, so he will attack Hana. Takan comes to her rescue saying she is just his sister, and he doesn't have anything with her. The director asks what he will do next, so he leaves the meeting. Hana's dad tells her about the revelation, and she waits for Takan by the bridge. When he arrives, she confesses to him that she is in love with him, and he reminds her that the condition to end their date is that one of them falls in love, and now that she is in love, the date ends. He collects back the key to his house and turns to leave. She asks him about his feelings too, but he says he has none of such feelings. She runs home and cries all through the night. The following day, she goes to meet his grandfather at the company. She tells him that she was the one who had forced Takan into all of those and that Takan shouldn't be punished. He laughs and tells her he knew. He reveals that Takan had told them at the meeting that he was going to resign to protect her. He calls her Hana and tells her he knew that she was Hana and not Yukari. She admits she was wrong, but at about the same time, Takan comes in with his resignation letter. Hana drags the letter from him, telling him that she will protect him and not let him resign. He also insists that he will protect her even if it means resigning. His grandfather laughs at them. He tells them all he wanted was to know that his heir isn't just in love with someone he wants to protect, and the person he wants to protect him too, and he has confirmed it. He tells them they have passed their final test and says if they want to continue their marriage date, they can continue. They are so shocked, and it is later revealed that Eiji was working for the president for Takan's good. Takan and Hana walk out of the office and walk to the bridge with hopes of continuing their marriage date. They tease each other as the series ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our recap, please give it a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. You can also check out our channel, where you'll find different recaps that might interest you.